Well, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday to you. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're joining me on the replay, hello, replay to you day as well, I guess. We're live though, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's live level up conversation.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, hello, friends. I'm Winnie Sun, your host, Forbes contributor, CNBC Council member, award-winning financial pro, here to keep you on top of relevant, trending business news. But more importantly, as always, you're part of today's discussion. So welcome to the show. It is wonderful to have you here with me. Always a treat. Let me just tell you, today's actually the first day I'm kicking off this week. I didn't come live to you yesterday, but there's been a lot of stuff happening, right? But one thing I definitely want to put on your radar, of course, for those of you who have been paying attention to this, I want to also say happy AAPI month, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Very big thing. It's all of May. So if you are seeing a lot of that content that my team and I are sharing out, and for everybody else who's celebrating this as well, and just we want to make sure to say hello, hello, and it's great to have all of you with us. And thanks so much for giving me love on that AAPI content. I really, really appreciate it. The other thing that I want to make sure to put on your radar too is that tomorrow we're going to be launching a brand new podcast episode on Yes Factor. As you know, Yes Factor with Winnie Sun. You can find it wherever you tune in on podcasts, but it is a LinkedIn Presents podcast. So we're very excited about that. We're going to actually be featuring two special guests on the show tomorrow, and that's going to be Laureen and Thomas SEO, and they are the co-founders or co-CEOs of Lean and Fresh. Pretty impressive brother sister duo, really impressive business that actually runs out of here in Southern California. So I'm excited to welcome them to the show. I'm excited for you to meet them. So if you want to do that, go ahead and follow along. And we're sharing the podcast link. You can find an Apple Podcast right here. So take a look at it and definitely check out the episode. I think you're really going to find it inspiring, and a really, really inspiring entrepreneur journey of having this great idea, which it was inspired from helping someone in their immediate family, and taking that small idea at a very, very young age, under 20 years old, thinking of this idea and turning it into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Absolutely incredible. So you definitely want to tune in and definitely check that out. It's going to be a good interview. But before we jump into more news though, I did want to let's start talking about how the market closed today. Okay. This is really interesting. Now, some of you may have been watching the market earlier today, watching the up and down swings, more down than positive, but surprisingly, actually, it closed on a slightly triple gains day. The Dow closed up 67 points, the Nasdaq up 27 points, and the S&P 500 also up 20. It's interesting because there's been a lot of news about, different things as it pertains to government. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But areas that actually performed well today, I wanted to make sure you saw this. Believe it or not, the energy sector continued to do well today. Also, defensive areas, utilities, healthcare definitely did well, and financials actually creeped up just barely 2%, but certainly good news across there. But I always think it's important, as those of us who are entrepreneurs, business owners, executives at companies, we want to be paying attention to trends. Because a lot of times, if you pay attention to trends, you also know how to make smart business decisions for you and your team, your employees, and just making smart business decisions, not only for today, but into the future, because there's a lot of factors that could come into play. And this bit of news I thought was fascinating. So you may have heard of a company called Chegg, which is spelled Chegg. They actually specialize in providing study materials and actually, courses for people looking for higher education. This could be like high school students, college students. What's really interesting about this news is that they came out and they said that the companies, in terms of revenues, has plummeted by almost 40%. In fact, the CEO says that people currently because of inflation being a big factor of this, are deciding to shift their priorities towards earning over learning. Earning over learning. That's true. So I'm curious to see what you think. I see Kenna joining us from Facebook Live. It's wonderful to have you there. Vicky, Facebook Live, amazing to have you there as well. CrossX Fighter, Joshua, it's so great to see you on YouTube Live. So let me ask you this. People are saying, well, because inflation is getting to be so much of an considerable theme here in the United States. In fact, I just learned that in an Asian country, right now inflation has reached over 30% in that country as well. So it's really interesting. Worldwide now, you're seeing the effects of inflation. And one thing that they're saying is a lot of students now are prioritizing. And they're saying, Chegg is saying that they're seeing this just across the board, that students who utilize their program are number one, certainly taking on less courses, less studying materials, and the courses that they're taking are less intense than prior quarters. So certainly they're seeing an impact. So I'm curious to see the greater impact and how this will trickle down to students across the United States and of course other countries as well. Are we going to see a workforce that continues to prioritize now earning versus learning, which could also mean, right, that there's going to be now wage ceilings as well, because we do know that typically, historically, with more education, that also can be a higher paycheck into the future. So it's really fascinating. I thought that was really interesting, especially right now, especially given that we've just, we've had 2+ years of pandemic. We definitely saw more people actually leveling up instead of going out and going shopping, going to movies. They were spending a lot of time on YouTube, getting more information, doing more podcasts, listening to more audiobooks and whatnot, trying to increase their education. But is there a shift? That's really interesting. I want to definitely put that on your radar. Now, another area that I thought was interesting and I want to share with you today is this. This might not come as a big surprise to you. It didn't come to a big surprise to me, but still, certainly it could be a trend that we'll continue to see going forward. And this is Airbnb. Now, Airbnb is definitely doing like blockbuster, if you will. They're seeing an increase of 70% in their business. Okay. Now, this might not be a complete surprise to many of you in the last couple of years. Perhaps you felt safe traveling. Perhaps you didn't feel safe traveling. I know for a fact, when I traveled the last couple of years with my family, was actually the first time that we actually booked an Airbnb for the reason that, because of COVID, we thought it'd be safer, less interaction with other people, but still got us to be able to visit more parts of the country and still have that sense of vacation. Well, Airbnb definitely is feeling that. In fact, this first quarter in 2022, they reported 102 million nights and experiences booked on their platform. So more people across, not just the United States, but across the world, a 70% surge. And so they're saying that this actually exceeded pre-pandemic levels. So in terms of travel, they're definitely seeing the benefit of more people traveling, and of course, people liking sort of creature comforts, right? Having your own home, having that driveway to pull up into, in some cases, many cases, kitchens and things like that. But they're saying they're still, of course, having an impact because of the pandemic. And of course, the war in Ukraine, definitely that's all priced in, but they're still seeing tremendous interest and Airbnb. So congratulations to their team. I guess that's good news for them. And I guess it also talks about the travel of the future. It'll be interesting to see with so much demand and so many people, had they maybe tried an Airbnb or that type of vacation rental. Certainly a lot of hotels suffered the last few years. Will people continue to enjoy that type of travel, or will people go back to sort of that full service hotel experience? It'll be interesting to see that as well. So definitely put that on your radar. Now, a lot of news though coming out from the United States government, we should say. And I want to say, I see your questions coming in. I said, Joshua, thanks so much for asking a question. I'm doing great, super busy as well, but it's great to have all of you here. And gotta say, a big shout out and welcome back to Alina Law. We have missed you, and it's great to have you back in here with us today. Let's talk about the U.S. government, because I feel like, if you're talking about what's making the news this week, in a big way is the US government. So much happening. First off, let's talk about money and let's talk about the Fed. The Federal Reserve, is expected to definitely do something big this month, and that is to increase interest rates to help mitigate rising inflation, right? So the talk of town is that we expect the central bank to raise interest rates about 50 basis points this month, which is about 0.5%. Now, there's also talk, though, is it possible that the Fed could do something even more aggressive this month? Is it possible they can increase interest rates even more or make even more changes to try and mitigate inflation? Well, I want to share this with you. Now, historically, we know when there's rising inflation, if the Fed increases interest rates, in most cases, there's a good chance it could help mitigate higher inflation, right? Get higher inflation levels a little bit lower, so more manageable. So when you go to the grocery store and you're buying things that you need, when you go to the pump and you fill up gas, things aren't as crazy expensive. So you feel a little bit better and you can get on with your life a little bit better, and you can feel more confident spending and making investments in your own life and things that you need to do. Well, it's interesting because CNBC recently released a survey result that they did, which was called the Fed survey, the CNBC Fed survey, and this is what it came out to be. So most of the people that responded to this survey were economists, fund managers, and strategists in the financial industry. Now, an overwhelming majority of those surveyed believe that if the Fed's tightening campaign continues at this very aggressive stance, that it's not going to actually achieve a softening of inflation. It's not going to achieve a soft landing, I should say. Instead, they think that this could actually cause a recession here in the United States. Definitely something to be paying attention to, because we haven't heard of the word recession in some time to this degree. But you have a lot of people who are in the financial industry who do this for a living, who are saying, hey, pay attention. If this gets too aggressive, if we have to make dramatic changes, the economy right now could be considered fragile, and this could drag us into a recession, which is definitely not a good thing. You tackle that on top of the pandemic, which we are still in, and everything else, this could just be too much. It could be too much. So definitely something to be paying attention to. Now, one question that people are talking about is, should I be moving into fixed income? Should I be investing less in the stock market, more into fixed income than bonds and whatnot? And that's a good question. I'm going to be actually preparing some content around that shortly, so we'll make sure to share that with you. Good question. Definitely something to be paying attention to. And I like that you're trying to think. Really important to think about what's going on. Now, the other portion that's big in the news right now as it pertains to all things United States government, right, is the topic of Roe versus Wade. Now, you probably saw the news, unless you literally have been avoiding all news for the last couple of days. Well, the big news is all about the Supreme Court, okay? Not only is it about this huge case, Roe versus Wade, but here's the thing. There was actually a leak in the Supreme Court. Yes. So I guess there's this report, supposedly almost 100 pages. There's a report that was put together, I guess, back in February, that talked about, there's a draft ruling that they're going to try to overrule this decades-old abortion rights issue of Roe versus Wade. And it's interesting because the news came out. It was actually shared, I believe, from Politico, saying that they found this report saying that this was happening. And then I don't even think everybody in the US government knew about this. And all of a sudden they're sort of scrambling, like, is this real? Or is this just a rumor? Is it fake? Is it a fake report? But true enough, today, actually, Supreme Court Justice John Roberts, Chief Justice, I should say, confirmed that this was actually authentic. There is actually a drafting of an opinion saying that there should be considered the overturning of Roe versus Wade. So people are actually today out protesting in different cities already. Really, really high profile case, as you remember. So we'll see. So this is what's happening. So you're having the pressure of the Fed right now to like mitigate inflation, talking about how much interest rates go higher, which is already also creating a lot of stress for investors, nationwide. And then now you have this other group now that's very, very concerned about the Supreme Court ruling and what that means, right? Because if you watch what's happening on social media, people are talking about this could be just the beginning of just another trend, because they're saying if Roe versus Wade can get overturned, what does that mean for same-sex rights, right? and marriages and whatnot. And they're even talking about, I even saw this on Twitter, people talking about what's that going to mean for slavery. Now, hopefully that's sort of an extreme, right? Hopefully it won't get to that. But I don't think many of us thought that there was a potential of a report coming out of the overturning of abortion rights for many people, many women right now here in the United States. So I've seen a lot of content, people talking about, are we going backwards? Certainly, and some people are saying we're going forward. This is a good thing. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm really just asking the question. I'm curious to see how you feel about that. How do you feel about, number one, increasing interest rates? Do you feel like this will actually hurt the US economy? Is there a potential that this could take us in recession? I'd like to hear what your thoughts about that. Maybe you're not sure. Maybe increasing interest rates, you don't even know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. How do you feel about that? Are you looking to purchase a home? Maybe you're looking to refinance. Maybe in your line of work, you're really impacted by rising interest rates, and you're more concerned about that than the price of goods that you're spending right now. Let me know how you feel about that. And if not, has the increase of goods impacted how you've been spending for you and your household? Have you found yourself spending less? Have you found yourself in the way that you eat? Perhaps you eat less expensive things. Maybe you go out to less expensive places. Has that impacted you? Because I'd be interested to see. I think overwhelmingly for those who I've had a chance to speak with and survey, definitely feel like most people have felt like that impact, and they've had made household changes on the way of their life. In fact, we're seeing that. We saw that, right? Amazon reported certainly a lot of impact on that in their consumer purchases, for sure. But really interested to see how you feel about the Roe versus Wade. Do you feel like that's going to be, how do you feel about that? And do you think that'll be like sort of trickle effect to more things being overturned? That will be interesting to hear. I'd be interested to hear your take on that. Now, one thing I will say on this that came also in the news today, Amazon has also announced, maybe partly impacted by the news of the Supreme Court leak here, Amazon has announced that they're going to now pay a benefit for their US-based employees. They're going to pay for there to be travel, for travel costs for things like abortions or other medical needs. They're saying that they will pay up to $4,000 in travel expenses for non-life-threatening medical treatments, which includes abortions, transgender care, things like this. If the operation or the I guess the medical need that you have cannot be done within 100 miles of your home, Amazon says that for their employees, they'll pay up to $4,000. So really, really interesting. Maybe another trend to be paying attention. I don't know. I think it's just something to keep definitely on your radar, because all these things, whether they be financial, business or not, they will have an impact on the financial decisions and movements in the economy, and certainly probably could impact your business, how you hire, maybe the things that your employees are interested in understanding and interested in to hear your social stance as well. So I just want to make sure to put that on your radar. But thank you all so much. Let's take a look and see some of the comments coming in. I think Alina is saying, glad to see Airbnb is coming back. Definitely some questions there. And I see Vicky is saying that she's saying it's a sad day. I think some of the news, she feels like some of that news coming out is a sad day. She says she's feeling for all of us, because I know Vicky is joining us from the UK. So definitely, she's also saying that it will come to the UK as well. People will not be happy with the overturning. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Vicky, I'm interested to see the public response to this. President Joe Biden came out today and said, I think today or yesterday, said, we'll be ready. But also, I felt like in his tone, he said, we sort of need to wait and see. And I think that's, from my standpoint, I'm waiting to see as we learn more and hear more, and we'll see what those developments are. But I want to say that Supreme Court Justice Chief Roberts is saying that his biggest concern is there's a leak coming from the Supreme Court. So they're going to go full on and try to find where that leak is and plug that leak, I think, So we'll see. We'll see how that is. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching, supporting our program, and of course, and please take a moment, if you can, to share the show with those that you care about. And of course, welcome back to Lena and we have a big group today. It's wonderful to see all of you today. Thank you so much for being here with us. As a reminder, we have a brand new episode on Yes Factor that's coming out tomorrow. Yes Factor with Winnie Sun. Actually, one of the best places to check it out is actually on Apple Podcasts. So check that out. And as a reminder, you can find full episodes of Level Up Live on NASDAQ, KBCW, Amazon Fire, Roku, and many, many more places coming. And so we're excited to welcome you back, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow's very special. We're coming back with Greg for In the Loop. Take care now.